often, so my clientele are very alpha personality. So I typically, they're drawn to me. They're craving, they're desiring, they're fantasizing, they're wanting to surrender. They want to let go of control. They want to let go of power, but they don't know how to fucking do that. Welcome to My Orgasmic Life Podcast, a show where we talk about sex, love, relationships, and kink. And of course, my favorite part, I share with you my very graphic, very juicy, and always entertaining orgasmic life. I'm Gaia Morrissette, your hostess, and your holistic sexual wellness specialist, your trauma healer, your BDSM expert, and of course, your pro-dominatrix. The show was inspired to inspire you to support your orgasmic living. Remember, always check the content warning before you listen, and make sure you're listening where no one else can hear it, because you never, ever know what I'm going to say, because I always come with an explicit graphic content warning. Now, strap in and enjoy the show. All right, audience, get ready for another episode of My Orgasmic Life. Now, I have something juicy for you in episode 200. This is episode 200. Woo! So, a couple weeks ago, Mistress Cherry and I were sitting around and we're getting to know each other. We started talking and we started gossiping about our submissives. And we had such a good time gossiping about all of our submissives that I had this brilliant idea that maybe my audience would love to listen to us gossip about what happens in the dungeon and from a pro-dominatrix perspective. So now I've been inspired to launch a new part of our series of My Orgasmic Life is going to be Confessions of a Pro-Dominatrix. Or it might change to Tea with Doms Gossiping. I don't know. Well, we'll see what the name goes with. But here we go. So I want to introduce my fellow world dominator, my fellow consensual world dominator, Mistress Cherry, to the show. Welcome for being on this adventure with me.
Thank you. I am so excited. Thank you for having me. And yes, tea can be very interesting with you and I.
It's true. It's true. And just a reminder, make sure you check the content warning so you know what you've gotten yourself into. All right.
Good point.
Remember, I always come with a content warning. Now there's a double content warning because you have two of us.
Two. Mistress, I just love your gloves.
I know, right? Aren't they fun? You know, we're getting ready for today's episode, and I was like, because I had did some recording earlier, and I had to change my hair, and so I changed my hair, and then I put this beautiful feather head piece in. I'm like, oh, this, and I got my pearls on, and I'm like, oh, I need to have my fancy gloves. So I go and get my fancy gloves, and then Mistress Cherry's like, well, I need my fancy gloves.
I gotta get my fancy gloves.
So she gets out her leather fancy gloves.
That's right. Pull them up.
So if you're like listening and you're like, well, I want to see how gorgeous these two goddesses look, make sure you go check out Patreon so that you can watch us, not just listen to us. Okay. So let's get started. Awesome. So Mistress Cherry, how about you introduce yourself for a second?
Sure.
Why are you a fellow world dominator?
Good question. Good question. Oh, it's quite a story, but I'll give you the short version. I have been a pro-dominatrix for 10 years. I got introduced to the lifestyle through the swinger world. I'm not a swinger. That was a very short-lived. And I met a great partner, and I started out as a bottom, and just within the community here in Burlington, someone said, you make a good pro-dom. You're bossy, you're dominant, you're sweet, you're sadistic, you're sensual, you're all those things. So we opened up a dungeon and we built furniture. And 10 years ago, we launched my website, and I just love it. And it is been quite an evolution for me. I was that true sadist, and I realized that only 10% of my clientele, subbies, masochism, met that sadistic side. So I toned it down, evolved, and I consider myself a sensual sadist. So you get lots of different things. What I love to do is inescapable rope bondage, pegging, CBT, sounding, nipple torture, and tons of role plays. I was sharing with Mistress that I have all these funny characters that someday we will have one of them on your show.
Yes, that would be
Yes.
great when
Yes,
we start talking about role play.
Yes,
And
yes,
I look
yeah.
forward to meeting some of those characters.
Yes, yes. And it's good you have a warning with Sergeant Sybil or Nurse Gretchen. So, so that's really a short version of me.
Beautiful.
I'm lifestyle as well. So,
okay. So today, I think so. Everybody who's listening, if you've been listening, you probably already have the backstory, but just here, I'll give you a quick one in case just like the first time, your first time, in case that you're a newbie and you're a firstie and you're like, what have I gotten myself into? There's a lot, like 200 episodes. So you got 199 episodes to listen to learn all about the evolution of me and all of my orgasmic living. So I'm a pro-dominatrix. I'm a high priestess of divine sexual magic. I'm a sexual wellness coach. I do a podcast. I do zillion things in the world. Basically, I make the world a safer, sexier, and healthier place for us all to live and explore and expand in. That's what I do in the world. And you can find me at GaiaMorrissette.com. Mistress Cherry's information will be in the show notes, all of her tags, all of her links, her website, all those kind of things. And then we'll circle back around again so that you can get her info. Okay, so I want to talk about all those lovely clients that think it's a good idea to top from the bottom.
No, they do not. The thing is, they do. And some of them try it again and again and again. In your words, not a good life choice. Right?
It's not a good life choice. So let's clarify just so that, because we're going to use a lot of lingo today, and this is really important. We're going to use a lot of lingo. And if you're like, I'm lost, I'm going to try to remember to take a pause and define things as we go along. If I don't, there is a whole episode on BDSM lingo, so that you are like, okay, now I can go watch that episode, listen to that episode, and I know what the hell those two women are talking about.
So much verbiage. You don't realize it. Being immersed in it for so long, you get talking and it's like, what?
Yeah. You're like, what is? So like, for example, you mentioned CBT. That's a great one. CBT has many meanings. So depending on what world you're living in, if you're living in the therapeutic world, it's cognitive behavioral therapy. If you're living in the BDSM world, it stands for cockball torture. So it's really important to define when people are talking, what are they talking about?
True. So, I mentioned lifestyle. We'll talk about what that means, right?
Yes. So, okay. So let's talk about the terminology topping from the bottom. So when I say that, what does that mean for you?
It means for me, so just to back up a bit. So when a client is reaching out to me and we're having that call, the interview or the vetting call, is we clarify what they want, right? They want CBT, no pain, no marks, all of the things that they want, hard limits. Then we have that same conversation when they come face to face. But the topping from the bottom for me means when that caller comes on, I own you. You are in control. When you are collared and cuffed, there's no topping from the bottom, meaning you're not going to tell me if that rope is too loose or too tight. But if you want to, you must say, Mistress, may I speak? For two things, it's the protocol, but also I'm in my dominatrix space. I'm doing my thing. I am feeling all happy and I'm dominating you and getting ready to beat you, whatever I love to do, wherever the scene is going. And you, mistress, may I speak? So it gets me out of my space to listen to you. But if you're just topping from the bottom, oh, spank me more, spank me this, you can ask me politely. So it just, to me, it disconnects the whole scene when you're topping from the bottom. It's that surrendering. If you're going to surrender and give up your control as a submissive, then do it. Or you're going to be on a timeout, or you're not, your collar is going to be off and you're going to be over on the floor, or you're going to be cleaning my bathroom instead. So it's, I'm not super high protocol, but there's definitely those things. It just is that disconnect. So I personally don't do brats or top or bottoms. And I was telling Mistress this morning is really evolving everyone to that submissive, whether it's sissy training, really submissive. So no topping from the bottom. What does it mean to you?
Oh, so I'm big into the whole psychological mind fuck.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because it's mind first, right? It's 100% mental piece, right?
Completely. And so often, my clientele are very alpha personality. So I typically, they're drawn to me. They're craving, they're desiring, they're fantasizing, they're wanting to surrender, they want to let go of control, they want to let go of power, but they don't know how to fucking do that. Which is why they come and see me, right? They're drawn to me because I hold that power space of like, that shit isn't happening. That's so not going to happen. And you will surrender whether you want to or not, because that's what we're as a team. My clients come to me because they want to go to subspace. They want to surrender. They want to feel safe. They want to let go of control, but they're control freaks. So as a control freak, the worst thing to do, that's why you're called a control freak, is to let go of control. But that's the thing you want. That's the thing you crave. That's the thing you yearn for. So my clients are constantly trying to top from the bottom in very subtle, very passive aggressive ways, very like, no, I'm not. I just was making a suggestion or, this would be really helpful, or, trying to take control of the situation in a very passive way. And so I actually really enjoy brats. I very much love brats because it gives me a really good reason in your place.
Exactly. I do get that. I have a horsewhip with their name on it. Yeah,
exactly. However, it's only fun if we acknowledge it for its truth. And so I think that's the struggle that I see with my clients, is that they don't believe they're topping from the bottom, and they don't really want to top from the bottom. It's not like they're like with intention of like, ooh, I'm going to be an asshole today and I'm going to piss off mistress and top from the bottom. Although actually that's not true. Some of my clients are like, I'm going to be an asshole today so that you'll hit me extra hard, which is also topping from the bottom. It's you trying to control the situation, trying to get a reaction that you want out of me is topping from the bottom. So there's so many layers, like topping from the bottom is there's so many layers and degrees, from a conscious awareness to a subconscious behavior that you're not even aware of. And so the key is I get the opportunity to train you to not do that, because it's not a really good, like we said, it's not really a good life choice. There's going to be like unpleasant consequences. The one that you're trying to make happen is the opposite of what's going to happen. Right. So if you're being a jackass and a little shit, so that you think that it'll make me a little angrier, so I will hit you a little harder, I'm so smart. So I see it for what it is. Right. And you know what you get? You get nice touching instead of me being mean, because that's what you want.
That's right. That's the thing, right? And you brought up a good point, what you said with alpha, right? It's so true. I find personally with my clients over the years, past, present, future, current, it is that alpha male, right? So if you're listening, alpha males, Mistress and I understand that is really that alpha male that wants an escape from reality, wants to give up control, doesn't want to make the decisions. I had this crazy kidnapping scenario from a very alpha male that just did Reiki healing with me, and all of a sudden wanted to jump into this BDSM kidnapping scene, which is just a great story. But it is just like, wow. But he just loved the release. He had the best time. He did fabulous, right? Another thing I want to touch on, you said, you're right. I have this, and I'm sure your rule is that do never, ever leave that toilet seat up, because when Mistress goes in for a little break, then I fall in the toilet because I'm in my dom space, and that is like horse whips, right? I come from a horse background. So I don't whip my horse. I whip my subbies. Yeah. But yeah, you leave your clothes nicely, right? Don't have your shit all over my bathroom. You don't see my shit everywhere. So yeah, so clean up your shit. Keep the toilet seat down. And you made a good point. You gave me an aha moment. That's what I love about Mistress Gaia's and I connection, is like, ooh, yeah, maybe they're doing that on purpose.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Does it look like I leave shit everywhere? Right. So clean up your shit. So yeah, they could be doing that.
And that's the thing, is that like the subconscious is very smart. The subconscious is like, I have a craving, I have a desire, I want what I want. And, and I'm going to get what I want, however I need to do it. So maybe this will work. And then, so they're going to try this. And then maybe this will work. And then they try this. And then my job is to be like, fuck no.
Exactly. No, you're not doing that.
My job is to be like, let's do some training. This behavior is not acceptable. It's time to do some course correction. Are you sure that was a good life choice? I don't think that was a good life choice.
Exactly.
Are you regretting? This is my favorite line. Are you regretting that decision? You haven't regretted it yet? Oh, you will. By the time we're done, you're going to totally regret that you made that choice.
I love it. I go to the washroom, I come in, you fucking left the fucking seat up. I can't fucking believe this. Yeah. So they usually just do it once, but yeah. So I have a funny story about topping from the bottom.
Okay, let's share. Yeah, I want to hear it.
So I have a submissive that came from lifestyle. What lifestyle means is that he lived it for 21 years, 24/7, meaning it could be a whole chapter. It is a whole chapter in a book I'm writing, but he like slept in the closet, hung up. He, denied sex, kicked in the balls every day, taken out to the garage and whipped. So he really lived that. So when she left, we don't know this backstory, he was missing it. So he came and saw me. So to fast forward, he really feels he's this true submissive. He feels to this day, after 8 years, he will say he does not top from the bottom. But he does. His thing is chastity. He was in a chastity cage with no orgasm for 369 days. And now he's pretty well in permanent chastity, except for I let him out the summer. But I'm going to keep using this term life choice, because I get onto someone's words. Oh, I like that. So last summer, I was going to take him out of the cage, but I don't tell him when I'm taking him out.
Let's take a moment and talk about chastity just for a second, because I feel like the story is a lot about chastity that we want the audience to understand. So
you're right.
Talk about chastity.
So chastity is that someone goes into a cage, usually that we pick out together, from a site called Lock Up Your Cock.
Love it.
There is different ones I prefer, because I've been to leather and chains and steel. I like the stainless steel one. I find it's easier to clean. This particular client and I go for walks in the woods, so I put it on the cage and we walk his cock through the woods and it stays on better. So a chastity will have a ring, and I feel like she'll get one, but I don't want to leave, and a cage, and you lock it up and you're controlling that person's orgasms from holding the key. So I have the key. Does he have one taped safely somewhere at his house? Because we're an hour away. Yes. But he knows if he goes and takes himself out, that he gets 300 lashings from me. So flogging, whipping, severe. So he knows that, and he has had that consequence. So he knows I'm not shitting around. Like, I'm serious. When I give the discipline, I give the discipline hardcore. So that's what chastity is. And some people are in chastity just for a session, for an hour or two, taking away that cock. If it's sissy training, becoming like a clitty, it's out of the picture. It's chastity's nice if you're focusing on pegging. So it's a real mind fuck. You talk about the mindset. It's really just takes that out. So him being in chastity so long, he doesn't even think about orgasms. I just own him in every regard. Yes, was that clear on chastity?
Yeah. So that's chastity if there's a penis, and then there's chastity with vaginas, which is a totally different conversation. So, but yeah, just so that which I'm sure we'll have a conversation about, because I'm finding this new love for orgasm denial and control. So
it's
I'm
awesome.
We'll hear all about this. Okay.
Yes.
Back to the story. All right.
Back to my story.
Your subby's true belief after all these years that he would never, ever top from the bottom. Okay, go.
Never. So he just thought he would never top from the bottom, right? That was it. So he sends me an email, says, "Oh, I can't wait to see you, say last in April. I can't wait when you take me out of my cage." What? Who said I was taking you out of the cage? He goes, "Oh, well, I've been in a long time, so I just assumed." Never assume with a mistress, okay? Never, ever assume. And I said in email, doesn't have a phone, weird. But anyway, on email, "Are you fucking kidding me? Wow, subby, you were going to go off to your cottage? Too bad. You're going to go in your cage." So he got 2 more months in chastity after being in for like 8 months, 2 more, and he got 300 strict beatings. I am a hard player, natural sadist. So what I did nice, because I have a little nice side, I said, "You're getting 300 hard floggings and beatings, and don't be scared. I'm scaring people away."
By the way, this is all consensual. So this is
absolutely.
I'm going to reiterate this for a second. Yes, it's all consensual. The whole thing has been sorted out. It's been worked out. It's been negotiated. It's been talked about. It's been all the things. So everything we talk about is from a consensual place only. Okay.
Only. He knows that if he acts up and is bad or steps out, and he comes from it as well, he knows that he's going to be disciplined. And you're right, that, and because he came from a lifestyle place, that was his thing, that I had to not hold back. He wanted, and we'll talk about this another time, it's that BDSM and personal healing. He misses his life so much that he needs to relive it, every other week. Right. So when he can. So so he said, "Oh, I can't wait to come out of chastity." Oh, really? So he bought himself 2 more months in chastity. And like I said, 30 beatings. But because I do have a heart and I am nice, I let them be split up. So he got this beatings 150, and I'm sure some ball busting, and then 150 at his next session when I decided when he was going to come out. And that's the thing with him, is he's in chastity right now. "Ooh, I'm coming out in May." And that's a conversation we're having tomorrow, actually, that you don't get to decide, because there is the consequences. It's like we said, the best life choice, right?
Yes.
So do not assume you're just coming out of chastity, right? And there's so many different topping from the bottom, but that is topping from the bottom. He's telling me, and it really honestly does piss me off, right? But it does. And he's of course, like the submissive's very nice person, and he's shocked with it. And I'm like, I can't believe you're shocked. I cannot believe you're shocked. And
yes, it's always funny.
It's always funny. Why are you shocked?
Yes,
right?
It's always funny.
It's just funny. So, and there's many, topping from the bottom. Many.
Well, let me tell you a recent experience. So I have this submissive who is really struggling to surrender and to let go of control, and is showing up in my life in many different ways. And all of the ways in which they show up, they have to be submissive. They have no option. There is zero option. They were given. So this is the beautiful part of the story. Is they were given options where they get to be in different ways in my life in different roles, because they were showing up in my business aspects, because I do a lot of different things. And I gave them all this, like, in this, when we got this hat on, this is your expectations. And when you got this hat on, this is your expectations. And this is when you show up in this, you got this expectation. But because they're craving submission so badly, they fucked that up. And top from the bottom, all over the place, all over the place. And then denied when called out that they were being toppy from the bottom. They're like, no, mistress, I just telling you this information. Like, you don't get the right to tell me the information. Did I fucking ask for the information? No. Then you don't get to tell me. I don't care about your opinion. You don't get to have an opinion until I tell you it's okay for you to have an opinion. We have protocols on how to deal with, how do you have conversations? How do you bring up things? How do you do it in a respectful way? Just the fact that you feel like that you should tell me this does not make it okay. And so we've had a little bumpy road lately of setting up the course correction. Instead of just having fun and exploring, because this person's new to kink and new to BDSM. And so like lots of different possibilities and figuring out what really gets them to that place. Instead of us being able to have this kind of exploratory fun, I have to waste all of my time teaching how to not fuck top from the bottom.
Because it pisses you off as much as it pisses me off, right?
And I'd rather be having fun. Now, here's the thing. I always have fun. So even if it's not the fun that I was hoping for, I will make it a good time for me, whether it's a good time for the client. It's all about your life choices. But it will always be a good time for me, no matter what.
And you made such a good point from the story with my client. He's like, really? I didn't think I was asking to come out. No, it says there, right there on that email. I can't wait to come out in April. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Oh, I didn't really mean stop from the bottom. No, but you did.
And it's human nature. So this is the really important part. Like I want to take just a moment to acknowledge that it's human nature to try to get control. Control is a space of safety and survival. And so as much as we also really crave surrendering and letting go of control and the escape of not having to think, and this, the stillness and all the beauty that goes with submitting and surrendering, our self-preservation and what we've been programmed to do is to gain control. And the more control you have in your everyday life, the more you actually most likely crave to have less control, but you don't know how to do that. And that is where finding the right pro-dominatrix is really important to help facilitate that, because the average person is going to let you be a control freak. It's going to allow you to top from the bottom. They're not going to see it for what the truth of that is, because topping from the bottom in that moment might feel like a victory, or might feel like you grasping for trying to get safety and security and control, but you're losing. It's not a victory. It's not a win. It's a loss, because why you're really here is to surrender and to let go. And that means to feel safe enough to do so. So you really want to make sure that when you are picking a pro dominatrix, or if you're going to drop into the lifestyle side of things where you're finding somebody to live in that relationship with, that they really are strong. Like they need to be strong to see your bullshit, to call you out on your bullshit, and to find it entertaining to have your bullshit.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And make your bullshit a good time for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And help you course correct to surrender.
Right.
So How
I
can
just want to,
okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, you said so many amazing things there. And that's, I think, to be clear to our listeners or people that are watching us, is you're right. People come to us to surrender, right? We keep talking about that. The client, my story, he loves to be, and I'm using Mistress's words, course corrected. He loves it. He loves that, because you're right. He's going on in his life day in and day out, in charge of himself, and, and he's retired. So he has all this time to think, oh, I'm thinking this. So he overthinks. So when I put that collar on, my verbiage is, I do the thinking for both of you right now, moving forward. It's Mistress, may I speak? We work on your breathing, and we go on this beautiful journey together. Because you made a good point. Yes, it's all consensual. I talk about it really is. This is what they want as well, right? And I have some female. We keep talking about male. I have some female clients as well. So it's the same. They are that strong, doing family business, being that mom, doing all the things. They're coming here for a spanking to take them off into a Zen space, right? I say that because a lot of women like spanking.
They do.
Yes,
they do.
Over the knee.
Yeah, they need the spanking.
That sensual surrender.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, and that's the key, right? That's the important piece. So how can people spend more time with you, Mistress Cherry?
Oh, how can they spend more time? Well, they can reach out to me. They can reach out to me, follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Cherry Leather Chaps. You can check out my website at mistresscherry.net as well. And I'm also on FetLife at Miss Cherry Leather Chaps. It's a long name, so you'll see the leather, but I know that Mistress will post things. And that's the best way to follow me. And you can just reach out. And if you are interested and you want a conversation, I love those conversations to make sure we're on the same page and that we connect. And that's really important. And an email as well is always great as well at mistresscherry.net.
Beautiful. And yes, and I'll put all of those links in the show notes so you can have that. And, at the end of today's show, you'll have all of the ways to reach out to me. But here's the extended. This is what we're going to talk about in the extended version. So
I like extended.
I know, right? Extended version. So if you want more and you're like, oh, they're done talking already, I really want to spend more time with them, then come visit us at Patreon for the extended version. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to ask Mistress Cherry what's her sex life look like? What does her BDSM sex life look like? I'll talk a little bit about mine. You mostly know most of my stuff. But she may ask me some questions that you don't have any answers to. So I would trust it might be a good idea to listen in.
And you know what? You should join, because I don't share this, as Mistress knows, very lightly. So you're going to want to join us, because not many people get to hear about my personal sex life. And that's all I'll say.
All right. And don't forget, if you want to continue to enjoy seeing what happens in the dungeon, actually seeing what happens in the dungeon and expanding your education around kink and exploration and knowledge, please join my BDSM membership program, where you get to see me in action in the dungeon, doing all sorts of things.
Awesome.
And you can find that at empressgaia.com. All right. Until next time, peeps, stay kinky.
Thank you.
Well, I hope today's episode inspired you, encouraged you, and of course, made you feel tingly inside. I just want to take a moment to tell you how much I appreciate the time that you spend, and how I really deeply appreciate you listening. I do it for you guys, the audience, and I love and adore you guys. So, quick loving reminder, I am not available for naked pictures, getting married, having sex, or having anybody's babies. And when you want to spend more time with me in a professional capacity as your coach, your teacher, your educator, your facilitator, you can reach me at GaiaMorrissette.com. That's the gateway to all things Gaia. Now, if you're like, oh, I really wonder what's in the extended version. Well, find out at Patreon. Come join my Patreon for not only the extended version of this episode, but also bonus content, behind the scenes, all sorts of juicy stuff. I also lovingly invite you to follow me on Instagram, which the handle is My Orgasmic Life Podcast, where you can leave feedback and comments. Also come join me on Facebook at My Orgasmic Life Podcast Facebook group. And I really want to hear from you. I want to know how this show affected you. What did you learn? Was it inspirational? Did you agree? Do you disagree? I want to know, because I'm a little bit of a voyeur. So I want to know how am I affecting you? So please come leave some comments. Now, if you're like, but I don't want everybody to know what I'm thinking, which is okay. Sometimes we need privacy and we need to be anonymous. So you would like that option? We have that. You can email my slutty assistant, Layla, at GaiaMorrissette.com. Okay, listeners, until next time, may your life be filled with sexy exploration and orgasmic pleasure. Mwah. Bye-bye.